Guys, it's happening again, and people are furious. Protests in several cities around the world have broken out after Israel intercepted the flotilla trying to bring aid to Gaza.
Tonight, we're looking at some TikTok that will shatter your perception of reality. Welcome back, family. Thank you all to the channel members for support. I've been sick for like the last couple of days, but it hasn't really affected my post schedule because I make my videos like sometimes days in advance. So if you're seeing this video right now, like it and hype it up so it gets pushed to more people. We're on our road to 100K. We're at like 76K subscribers right now. So let's try to get to 100K. Let's go.
And the impact of a jet. From what I understand, the outer skeleton of the building, the outer columns was like a fishnet, and you had these inner core columns, which was substantial, thick steel beams to withstand 4 or 5 times what the loads were. The engineers always over-design a building. No steel frame building has ever collapsed before or since 9/11. So that should say something right there. And it said that Building 7, it was a progressive collapse, that it was caused by fire. But progressive collapse, unlike the Twin Towers collapse from the top down. That's a progressive collapse, floor by floor by floor. But if you look at the videos of Building 7 collapsing, it collapses uniformly. It's collapsing from the bottom. The building stays intact all the way to the bottom of the ground, and you could see the sides caving in on it. For a building to collapse uniformly, which the videos show, all the load-bearing columns would have had to have failed simultaneously. Now, fire doesn't act like that. I came across an analogy of the Twin Towers, and if you could visualize cast iron stoves stacked one on top of each other. The stoves up at the top, yes, there's fire and they've been damaged, but the stoves on the bottom, they haven't been damaged. So the structure underneath all of that is intact. So it's impossible for a building to collapse near free fall speed and increase
without a controlled demolition.
You're running into the path of most resistance. So something else is going on. I don't believe that it was just the planes or the fires. I think that, and they examined the dust and they found what they call thermitic material, which is like an explosive incendiary, which was in the dust samples, and that's documented. There were reports of the buildings were undergoing an extensive elevator renovation in the 2 or 3 years prior to. All kinds of workers, they had access to the cores of the building. And on the day of the attack, the elevator company would not assist in the operations of the elevators. And the elevator company it subsequently went out of business. And a couple of years after that, the information is out there. At one time when I was heavily engaged in trying to get a new investigation, I definitely felt threatened. I felt threatened for my family, and it wasn't a pleasant experience. You have sworn testimonies from firefighters regarding explosions in the building. They were suppressed. Just somebody making a statement, especially from firemen and police, if they make a statement, I heard an explosion, that's grounds to initiate an investigation. The firefighters, a bomb went off. This is their own words, made that day. They just ignored it.
Definitely will say that the buildings collapsing definitely did look like a controlled demolition. What do you guys think about that? Let me know down in the comments.
These are some morbid facts about Charlie Sheen. When he was only 10 years old, Charlie Sheen traveled with his father to the Philippines for the filming of Apocalypse Now. There he witnessed a real water buffalo being decapitated by a machete in a ritual sacrifice, a moment filmed for the movie. Sheen later said the image stayed burned into his memory and was one of the most brutal things he had ever witnessed. At the peak of his fame, Charlie was burning through drugs at such an insane pace that he admitted he had a different reality. At one point, the actor was spending nearly $2,000 a day on cocaine and once admitted to smoking enough crack to fill a swimming pool. His binges spiraled into weeks-long parties filled with drugs and sex, where he bragged about sleeping with both men and women while high. It was during this reckless era that he contracted HIV, a diagnosis he kept secret for years as rumors about his health exploded. When Sheen finally revealed his HIV diagnosis in 2015, the confession was both shocking and life-saving. Doctors gave him credit for prompting a 95% increase in HIV testing kits, likely saving thousands of lives. In 1990, Sheen's engagement to actress Kelly Preston came to a bloody end when she was shot in the arm inside his home. Sheen later claimed a revolver had slipped from his pocket and accidentally discharged when it hit the floor, but the incident was enough for Preston to leave him immediately, prompting rumors that Charlie had actually attempted to kill her. While filming Money Talks, Charlie binged so heavily on cocaine that he suffered a nosebleed that wouldn't stop. The bleeding went on for 18 straight hours, leaving him physically drained and terrified. On the set of Free Money, after days of partying, Sheen was so exhausted and paranoid about passing out that he tried a bizarre method to stay awake. He claims he shoved an ice cube up his rectum to shock his body into alertness. He later recounted the story as one of the lowest points of his addiction. In 1995, Sheen's drug abuse had reached such a catastrophic level that doctors found his blood saturated with cocaine at a concentration so high it should have killed him on the spot. Paramedics were stunned that he survived the overdose, with some calling it a medical miracle. But finally, after years of infamous drug binges, public breakdowns, and reckless behavior that nearly destroyed his career, Charlie claims he's now been sober since 2017, over 8 years without drugs or alcohol. He admits he still gets constant cravings, but says he fights them by remembering the shame and chaos of his tumultuous past.
In my opinion, when it comes to like anything like drugs, you gotta be hella careful because it completely alters your brain chemistry. So like one day you could wake up completely normal, la la la, everything's amazing. Next day you have schizophrenia, it's over. I don't know if it's me, but that did not sound like a dummy tiger. That sounded like a real animal.
The First Lady of France is doing something that may sound surprising. She and her attorneys are planning to try to prove that she is a woman. Stay with us here. Brigitte Macron, wife of the French president, Emmanuel Macron, now says she is going to present scientific and photo evidence in court to prove her sex. This is part of the couple's court case here in the U.S. as they're suing the woman on the right side of your screen, conservative commentator Candace Owens, for saying on her platforms, Macron was born male.
4 people have lost their lives and 19 others are in the hospital, all because of food sold at Trader Joe's and Walmart. The CDC has said there is a current listeria outbreak coming from meals made from Trader Joe's and Walmart, all from a ready-to-eat pasta dinner. This outbreak has spread across 15 states, the CDC says, and warns the products may still be in refrigerators and freezers right now. Now, because this is a listeria outbreak, this is especially dangerous to people that are pregnant or over the age of 65. Even those with weakened immune systems can also have terrible effects from this. The symptoms can include headaches, stiff neck, confusion, loss of balance, and in severe cases, people have actually lost their lives. Now, the CDC says that these symptoms can occur anywhere from the same day to up to 10 weeks later after eating this meal. And if you've recently eaten any of these meals that you can search up right now, mainly it's the linguine and the Trader Joe's Cajun-style chicken fettuccine Alfredo, you need to pay attention to your health and contact a director if symptoms do appear and go to the hospital immediately.
What is going on with Walmart? I swear to God, this is like the second update of some crazy like disease or radioactive things at Walmart. For example, I'm pretty sure like 3-4 weeks ago, Walmart had a radioactive shrimp.
She's coming over here and she never comes alone. She never comes alone. All the bandits are whipping out their chrome. And tonight there's gonna be twerking, rubbing, grinding, clubbing, twerking, rubbing, grinding, clubbing.
He said clubbing. Bad Bunny is actually supposed to headline the Super Bowl halftime performance. Yo, Trump was so mad about that. He was like, it's so disappointing that someone that hates America is headlining the Super Bowl halftime performance. For all my Spanish viewers, let me know if that's actually what he's saying.
I was not lying when I said that this will go down as one of the most controversial Super Bowl halftime shows of all time, as it looks like the Trump administration is getting ready for Bad Bunny's Super Bowl halftime show performance that's gonna happen next year. In case you haven't heard, Bad Bunny was recently selected to play the Super Bowl halftime show in 2026, and this would instantly break the internet for a couple reasons. One of them being that Bad Bunny is obviously Hispanic and he's actually from Puerto Rico, and also since he's from Puerto Rico, 99% of his music is actually in Spanish. All of that, along with the fact that Bad Bunny has actually called out Donald Trump in this administration several times in the past. This has obviously led to tons of hate being said to Bad Bunny. Well, the Trump administration has already responded to Bad Bunny actually headlining this performance, and they would of course respond in the exact way you would think. The Trump advisor actually saying that there will be ICE agents right outside the Super Bowl halftime show waiting for anybody to come in, which is, by the way, the exact reason he actually canceled an entire US tour, as he was afraid that ICE agents would be right outside his concerts waiting. People got this mad over Bad Bunny just being announced to play at the Super Bowl. Just imagine what's gonna happen after his actual performance.
Proof that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was compromised a long time ago. First and foremost, we've seen him do the dress thing. It started in 2010 with the Tooth Fairy thing. Then we have this video I'm gonna play for an energy drink.
Got this?
Yes.
Not to mention this creepy SNL skit where he talks about children.
In the world contest, I invented a child robot.
He would go even further in the skit with that backtrack of fake laughter and just making a mockery of something that millions of people go through that it's not funny at all, first off. Here's a video he posted on his Instagram a while ago, and let me read the caption. He states, "This adorable little darling cupcake came to meet me and present me with a beautiful lay." And read this. I can't read it, but... what? Here he is being the first to shake John Cena's hand after he was totally undressed on that award show stage. Hello? Mind you, this is the same Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson who built into a storyline that he's trying to make Cody Rhodes sell his soul to The Rock. And the worst part of it all is after all this weird stuff, symbolism, etc., we still see Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson as one of the biggest actors in the entire world, and that doesn't look like it's changing anytime soon. Hollywood is weird, man.
I mean, the key word to what he said is he's an actor, so, you know what I'm saying? Actors are usually just fake people in general. Like, they have to fake being someone else, you know what I'm saying?
Guys, it's happening again, and people are furious. Protests in several cities around the world have broken out after Israel intercepted the flotilla trying to bring aid to Gaza. And many of the activists on board, including Greta Thunberg and Nelson Mandela's grandson, have been detained. Israel are now planning to deport them back home, saying in a post they are all safe and in good health. But because they intercepted the flotilla while they were in international waters, many are calling this a violation of international law. 13 boats were intercepted with the use of water cannons, cutting off their communication, and one was even rammed. Roughly 200 activists on board were detained, but as of recording, around 30 boats remain and are still heading towards Gaza. As expected, this has triggered a huge global reaction, especially since the flotilla's only stated mission was to peacefully deliver aid to the people in Gaza. And the public have taken to the streets in several cities, including Brussels, Athens, Buenos Aires, Berlin, and most prominently, Rome, and many other Italian cities, where the crowds chanted, "Let's block everything." Now, Israel claimed they warned the flotilla to turn back multiple times. They also said that they are happy to transfer any aid from the flotilla to Gaza themselves. As always, let me know what your guys' thoughts are in the comments, and I'll keep you guys updated.
You know about the 2 towers that fell on 9/11, but did you know a 3rd skyscraper collapsed that day? This was World Trade Center Building 7, a 47-story steel giant. It was not hit by a plane. Yet, at 5:20 p.m., after burning for several hours, it did this. The official report says office fires weakened its structure, causing a progressive collapse, a first for any steel skyscraper. But critics, including thousands of architects and engineers, ask, how did it fall at near freefall speed? And why did some news outlets report its collapse 20 minutes before it actually happened? A tragic result of a chaotic day, or something more?
He got rushed to the hospital, and I was just like, he's not, unfortunately, you know, I was like, he's not going to make it. Like, that was a devastating shot, and the amount of arterial spray and blood that came out of his neck was, you don't survive stuff like that.
Because when he got hit, he didn't it wasn't like he got jerked backwards. Mm-mm. It wasn't like he flew off the chair he was sitting on, the stool.
Mm-hmm.
He took it and then kind of fell to the side.
Yeah.
But it was a delayed fall to the side. Is that normal?
Very normal, very normal, very normal. I've seen that a lot, like throughout my entire career, whether from me doing it or watching other people get hit from my guys. Like that's, I don't, you know, it's rare you shoot someone sitting down, but the way the body tenses up and goes like limp after a few seconds, starts to like loosen up the muscles, but how the body and the arms go up to the chest and the legs kick out straight. Yeah. I don't ever expect someone to get blown back. That bullet's moving, you know, almost 2,000 plus feet per second. Some cases like an AR-15 round, I believe it's like, it's been a while, 2,975 feet per second. Your body doesn't have enough time to really react other than the muscles getting tight, but that's because you're dead. Like something was severed. The brain stem was severed. There's no more connection from the brain to the body, and the body does that jolt.
A Delta captain refused to take off after his gut feeling told him something was wrong with the plane. On Saturday, August 16th, Delta Flight 466 was preparing to take off from Atlanta in a 757 for a flight to Las Vegas. The problem began after the captain told maintenance that there was something wrong with the plane's elevator during a flight the day prior. Maintenance inspected the aircraft, reportedly spending 9 hours checking it over and repairing the plane, which they eventually signed off on as good to fly. But apparently, the captain couldn't get away from the feeling that something was still wrong. He informed the passengers over the PA system that he trusted the maintenance crew, but still believed something was wrong. Sounds like he didn't actually trust them, and continued on to say that he was rejecting the aircraft. All the passengers then deboarded and ended up taking off in a different plane, thankfully just 1 hour later. And according to a Redditor on this flight, once at the new gate, the captain told him it had been 22 years since he rejected a plane like this.
If the pilot says he doesn't feel good about flying the plane, I'm listening. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to complain with the pilot. Do what you want, dude. So I'm with the pilot 100%.
Ain't no way this is Zac Efron, y'all. There's no fucking way. What the happened to Zac Efron, y'all? Am I lost? This is Zac Efron in 2025? This man look like Efron Zac. So y'all telling me right now that this is the same person that played in High School Musical, Zac Efron. This was a couple years ago. So how the hell he go from this to this? It looked like on this picture, he was swimming with the puffer fish. Nah, y'all, I'm being dead ass serious. What the be going on in Hollywood, y'all? They said right here was in 2021. Right here, it's 2025. What, he had a daddy makeover? Do he even got kids? Is this what men do? Did he get jawline surgery? Did his whole face get changed from plastic surgery? Somebody let me know down below in the comments. Who the fuck is this really? Is this really Zac Efron?
Definitely looked like he got surgery, but in my opinion, he didn't even need plastic surgery. Looks like he got plastic surgery and a crazy tan.
The pictures of the UFC fight at the White House look absolutely insane. Dana White just shared these renderings, and the White House also just posted this on social media, but this is what the octagon is going to look like when there is a UFC fight on the White House lawn next July. If you look at these pictures up here, Dana White said we are building the arch and the lighting grid that will go above the octagon so that when they record the fight and are live streaming it, the whole backdrop will be the White House. And this picture right here shows where they're going to be doing the interviews, the live press conference, and the weigh-ins in front of the Lincoln Memorial. Not only that, but look at this. With the two giant screens right in front of the White House, there's going to be less than 5,000 seats for people to actually be there on the White House lawn while watching a UFC event. And while we don't have any official card because Dana White said they are still working on that, Conor McGregor went on Fox News yesterday and said that he is 100% fighting Michael Chandler. But these pictures right here of what the octagon's gonna look like on the White House lawn are absolutely insane, and I am so looking forward to this.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not hating on it, but only in America you would get people fighting in front of their national building. That's hilarious.
So it's the middle of the night, and Donald Trump just posted this incredibly strange AI video of him and JD Vance in a band and the author of Project 2025 as the Grim Reaper. It's as weird as it sounds. Take a look. That's the President of the United States in the middle of the night posting AI videos on his social media platform. He's like your boomer MAGA uncle, except he's running the country. Our government is shut down right now. People in the military, people at the TSA, the National Guard, all of these different agencies are not receiving a paycheck. They are not getting paid. People can't access crucial services, and Donald Trump, instead of working on this issue, is posting AI videos. We are so screwed.
Yo, I did hear about that government shutdown. Apparently, like, even like what he just said, TSA, you can go through TSA with like drinks and stuff when before you literally couldn't. I mean, I'm not too sure. If you've flown recently, let me know. But like, apparently you can go through TSA with like stuff that you're not supposed to. Apparently, from what I've heard.
Everybody who I've ever seen has died with a terrifying, scared look. Never one of peace or anything. No, it's always been scared. It's terrifying. I don't know if it's because of the pain. My belief, I think they see something. That's what it looks like. Whatever they see is not here. They look past you when they're dying. I've watched a guy die in my hands. Not an enemy guy, but one of our guys. Helped carry a dead body out. It's a look of, I don't know, the unknown maybe. Going somewhere that, I don't know. It looks scary to me. It looks scary. And it could be if your life isn't right at that moment, that's the look. And I don't think any of us ever get it right. So, and I also have a belief that we all have to go to the underworld when we die. A place like Earth is a big test to get to the next place. And there, it's hell, fire. And in the military, we say you need to be baptized by fire.
Okay guys, major breaking news. There has just been a mass stabbing at a synagogue on the holiest day in the Jewish calendar. Here's what we know. So this happened in the UK, in Manchester, right as large numbers of Jewish people attended synagogues around the country for Yom Kippur, which is their most sacred day. Now, eyewitnesses describe a man driving a car towards members of the public, and we're unclear on the specifics as to what happens from here, but 4 people have sustained injuries both from vehicle and stab wounds. Videos online show bystanders filming this whole situation, saying things like he's got bombs strapped to his chest, and this is right as police opened fire on the man. Now, he is believed to be dead after this, but we are still unsure if those things strapped to his chest were real explosives or were just decoys. Now, police have declared Operation Plateau moments after first hearing about the incident, which, for anyone that doesn't know, is a set of responses to be carried out for large-scale incidents, including terrorist attacks. The Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, is heading back to the UK early to hold an emergency meeting this afternoon, and he announced that additional police assets will be deployed at synagogues across the country after the attack in Manchester. As we know more, I'll keep you guys updated.
This might be the weirdest story I've ever covered. And it all starts with this guy, Neil. And Neil is 43 when the story starts, living in England, and Neil is a vascular surgeon. But Neil is also a really weird guy. I mean, he's very into amputation, but not just because of his own job. He has always wanted to amputate his own body parts because allegedly he secretly finds the idea of amputation hot. Yeah, this is very bizarre. Anyway, one day in 2019, Neil comes up with a plan to have his lower legs amputated, and along with that, scam the insurance company out of a bunch of money. And so Neil gets to work on this plan. First, he either has some sort of insurance policy or he gets one in the private sector. Either way, he makes sure he's insured. Then he gets a bunch of dry ice and he soaks his lower legs in it, like just the part below his knees, so that part of his legs freezes. And he has to soak them for like hours, and the dry ice hurts. Like, this is not a fun time that he has to do this, but it works. He successfully does a lot of damage to his legs. Then, I assume he calls an ambulance for himself and is like, my legs are messed up, come get me. And so I guess an ambulance rushes him to the hospital, and when the doctors ask what happened, he comes up with this whole story about how he was on a camping trip with his family and he hurt his leg, and then when he got home, he developed sepsis or something. And the doctors examine his legs and they're like, yep, you got a sepsis infection. And they conclude that there's nothing they can do for him and that they have to remove his legs. And I guess secretly, Neil is like, sweet, because, this is all part of his plan, because I guess he thinks amputation is super hot, like it gets him going. And of course, the doctors, they don't know this. They think he has sepsis. And so Neil, he goes into surgery, and the surgeons remove his legs right below the knee. 7 weeks later, after recovering in the hospital, they send him home. So he goes home and he starts, of all things, a YouTube channel, and there he starts vlogging a little about his amputation journey.
So I'm now a bilateral below knee amputee.
And so now he doesn't have legs, and I assume he's happy because he low-key thinks amputation is hot. And he's getting all sorts of sympathy from the people around him because his accident was so tragic and unexpected. Meanwhile, he goes and he quietly cashes in his insurance claim, and he's awarded more than £466,000, or around $630,000 US. And from there, Neil has to recover for a few months, and he gets prosthetic legs, and he learns to start walking on those, and he vlogs the process a little bit. And about 6 months later, he goes back to work at the hospital as a vascular surgeon. Here's a picture of him. You can see he's got the prosthetic legs on. Now, throughout his recovery, he's been getting all sorts of media attention. And this dude, he's playing it up.
Probably been the toughest year of my life, that goes without saying. It's been a very strange year.
Even the BBC does a little special segment on him, and they interview him. And he's like telling the media and people how, this has changed his outlook on life now. And, he had taken things for granted like walking the dog or playing football with his kid, but he'll never be able to do that again. Bitch, it's your fault. Anyway, in 2020, he ends up winning some kind of award for bravery in his fight to return back to a normal life, I guess. Meanwhile, he's also working on the side as a lecturer at a local university. And in 2021, he applies for the European Space Agency's Para-Astronaut Feasibility Project, where they're seeing if people with a physical disability could go into space. And so he applies for a spot, and his story is so inspiring that he ends up on the shortlist for the program. Like, the way he is getting away with all this is insane. Now, remember how I said you aren't ready for this one? Well, here's where it all gets really weird. At some point, Neil connects with this guy, who we'll just call Creepy. Here's a real-life picture of Creepy if you want to see him. Now, Creepy, he runs a website, and I just recently learned that this is a real thing. It's some kind of website where people will pay him to amputate their body parts, with consent, but it's like a sexual thing for them. So Creepy will then film these amputations, and he will put those videos on his website, and people can then purchase them and watch the videos. Or he will perform the whole procedure for people to watch on live stream. I guess there's a whole subsection of people out there who are not only into that, who are willing to pay money for it. Now, at some point, Neil stumbles upon Creepy's website, and he's like, oh snap, this site is fine! Because, amputations are his thing. And so he signs up for it, and, he loves it. Like, he has found his people. Now, coincidentally, one of the services Creepy advertises is having limbs frozen off. I guess he does that for his clients, like if you want your limbs frozen off, he's the guy you go to. So at some point, Neil visits the site so much that he gets in touch with Creepy, because, they share a mutual interest. And they become friendly, and they start chatting and messaging back and forth. And in their conversations, Neil opens up to him like, guess what I did? And he starts telling him about how he concocted this whole scheme to freeze off his own legs and how he tricked everyone. And he basically confesses his crime to him. And of course, Creepy's like, jolly good show or whatever. But it doesn't matter that he confessed because Creepy, he's never gonna leak that information to the police or to the public. Until 2020. One of Creepy's clients comes to Creepy one day and he has like a bunch of gruesome back alley operations and amputations done to him. Things I won't go into too much detail about on this app, but just so you know, he basically had him cut his junk off. Yeah, I know. But afterwards, this junkless guy, he starts claiming that it wasn't consensual. That the whole time, Creepy had been manipulating him into participating in these back alley amputations. So he goes to the police and he gives them all kinds of details and information on Creepy and the weird operation he's running. And it turns out that what Creepy's doing is illegal. And so the guy gives police images and videos and screenshots and messages and all kinds of evidence. And so police, they start investigating Creepy. And they track him down and bam, Creepy is arrested. Here's his mugshot. Now, in the course of their investigation, police shut his website down and they start going through all the information they find in order to identify other victims or perpetrators. And that is when they run across Neil's messages. And so they start looking into him. And they find out that he had bought 3 of Creepy's weird amputation videos from the website, showing some pretty gruesome stuff, and that they had exchanged about 1,500 messages about his own amputations, which, in the end, ends up being evidence against him. So, in 2023, bam, Neil gets arrested. Here's his mugshot. And eventually, he pleads guilty, and he gets sentenced to 32 months in prison. While Creepy also pleads guilty, and he's sentenced to a minimum of 22 years in prison. Oh, and there's one more thing that makes all this even that much more awful. Neil was a surgeon, so he had a bunch of former patients who are now seeking legal advice because they're thinking that maybe Neil had recommended that they get something amputated when they didn't really need it, just because he finds the whole procedure hot. Get the fuck out of here. Oh my, imagine that. Imagine if that had happened to you.
I could only imagine like what those people that got surgery by him just feel like right now, because that is absolutely insane, dude. It also made me wonder like how many people have like said or like lied about certain things that haven't been caught, because if he didn't spill the beans to that dude, to this day we probably would never even known that even happened. In a way, it kind of remind me of like the Gypsy Rose situation. I don't know if you guys know who Gypsy Rose is. Her mom kind of pretended that she was like this disabled girl, but she really wasn't. And she ended up killing her mom because she didn't want to like live that lifestyle. It's this whole story. If you guys know more about that story, you know what I'm saying, you can put your thoughts about that in the comments.
Thank you all for watching this here video. Please like and subscribe.